Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Rashmi Kulkarni, co founder of Next Solutions, a microbiome resource platform that provides digital courses for the human microbiome, an app called Microbiome Superhero for children to develop healthier habits. We, of course, do research related to the gut microbiome. We do a lot of awareness by the way of outreach and webinars. We also have our very own Shatayushi 360 degrees total transformation program to try and reverse chronic diseases using the power of the microbiome. So, this podcast that we are doing here is to increase awareness about what are the things that might go wrong in our daily lives. So, today is a very interesting topic because we have so many different products in the market today, may it be probiotics, nutraceuticals, or supplements. When we talk about using these to improve our health, shouldn't we go back and look at our kitchens? The kitchen is a valuable source of not just nutrients, but medicinal properties as well. If we look at our kitchen ingredients, we will find a lot more nutrition, a lot more medicines that can heal us, that can nourish us. So, again, we have our own host speaker today, Sujata Gokhale.
Hi Rashmi, how are you?
Well, Sujata, I'm good.
When are you coming over for lunch?
Yes, it's interesting you talked about that lunch. It is something that we want to focus on today. It's our traditional thalis. Whenever we are talking about what's in our kitchens, we see these hoardings sometimes, or we see these slides when people are presenting, scientists who are talking about nutrition, that the best medicines are in your kitchen, or food is medicine, and many things like that. And we also know that our grandparents probably gave us kadhas for improving immunity. So when we say all of this, what about the everyday food that we eat? Can that be medicinal? So when we thought about talking about this topic, we thought, why not talk about our own traditional thalis?
Yes, that was a wonderful idea, Dr. Rashmi, and inviting over you to lunch for the Kannada Thali, while you invited me for the Maharashtrian Thali. We both had a gala time, but let's talk about the Thali now, for now.
Yes. So whichever thali we talk about, like you said, the Kannada thali or the Maharashtrian thali, any traditional Indian thali that we talk about is such an amazing example of a balanced diet. This is why we wanted to put some focus on what we are missing out these days, because we are so focused on getting other things done, focused on our careers, focused on getting our children to do even more activities than they can handle, focus on all kinds of things that are stuffed in our days. But what that leads to is much simpler meals. And there's nothing wrong with simple, but these meals are one pot meals that are extremely low in nutrition, that are extremely high in empty calories, that are extremely poor in fiber, and everything else we can think of. And when that happens, it leads to a lot of chronic diseases, it leads to a lot of infections, our immune system not getting trained properly, dysbiosis of the gut, everything that goes wrong with the microbiome. And all of this can be prevented by just going back to our traditional thalis. That's why we have brought in Sujata Gokhale, as you know, one of the co founders of our company. And she's also a food researcher and blogger at Next Solutions. So,
So
why do you
let's
think it's important, Sujata? Let the viewers know to talk about the thali.
Yes, I mean, Thali for me holds a lot of fond memories of being with my, grandparents and parents, serving me on the Thali. But let's start at the beginning. Just now you spoke about prebiotics, probiotics, and supplements and things like that. When a complete meal that our, grandparents or ancestors served us, did it not have all those ingredients in it? It was complete by all means. So if we think about prebiotics on the thali, you will see we had the cucumber, and I'm talking about specifically about the Kannada thali that you displayed. So we have the cucumber and the moong dal salad there. So that's where you begin with your salads. Those were not termed salads those days, but they were integral part of the diet as well. And then If you see the other range, that could be, that was your prebiotics. But what about your probiotics? So on the probiotic extreme, we had the buttermilk or the yogurt. So why go back to our supplements when we could have this on that on our plate? Then we had our vegetables, and if you have a look at it, since you know that they were mostly, we used to have the local and seasonal vegetables. We went for nothing exotic. So we had all the gourds, and you can see that in that avial, which is a coconut based gravy, having all the seasonal vegetables in it, whether it be the yam or the ivy gourd, the drumstick, the carrots, or for that matter, the ash gourd, the bottle gourd. All those things were there in that. Those were typically the kind of vegetables that you will find that in those parts of the region from where I hail from. And then we had something called as a Malabar spinach. I don't know how many people actually know. They are supposed to be have a good iron content in them. So we had the Malabar spinach mixed with a split cowpea bean gravy, and we have the Karela sabzi. Again, it's a seasonal. So on the plate, you wouldn't find that we had to go run around here and there for getting all our uh, nutrients or vitamins or minerals. They were complete in their own self. And then, being from the region, like I told you last time, I hail from Karnataka. We have an very a different or a unique kind of a dish called as a tambuli or tambli, some people call it. Those are actually made from herbs or herbs that are grown in the garden. Here I have in my thali, I have shown the one with brahmi as the base. So these were incorporated in the diet without actually taking too much pains for it. So these could be made from any of those seasonal herbs that were available at that time to provide, and they are very, very rich sources of antioxidants. They are very good for the brain cognition, the Brahmi especially. So these were incorporated in small amounts, but every day in your meal. And then, of
Yeah.
course, yes, Rashmi.
No, no, go ahead.
And to complete the meal for the carbs, we had the millets and the ragi bakri. The millets could be any from the siridhanya that we talked about last in our last podcast, which are one of the positive millets, and that accompanied with a blob of ghee without thinking of any weight losses or weight gains for that matter, and completed with a dal or a sambar and a rasam. So this is how rasam was essentially for immunity. So it was taken like you can consider it like a soup that was partaken as a part of the meal, so that it had those spices which would keep you free from minor colds, coughs, and so many other things. So that was how the thali was designed. But if you asked our ancestor about it, they never probably gave us the actual the science behind it, and that's why somewhere we let it go, and we actually adopted the western diet or the sad diet.
Absolutely. Those are some very important points that you mentioned here. There are many layers to it. So let us break it down into, what
Yes.
are the different important things that we are trying to cover here. If I look at the Kannada Thali, or if I look at the Maharashtrian Thali, or any other local regional Thali in India, what is important, as you mentioned, let's go back now. If we think about why our ancestors did not explain the scientific basis of it, that's why many people have given up on it, because they think most people think it is very cumbersome to prepare all of these dishes. It doesn't really take that long. but that's the idea people have. And then the scientific basis is not explained. The reason for not explaining the scientific basis is because that's what everybody did. That's what they did to remain healthy. There was no need to explain it in a scientific way. So that is one very big reason why it has been lost, because of so much advancement in technology. We are living a completely different life. Our body is still in the stone age. We have not evolved to adapt to this life that we are living, which is a big problem. So this takes care of that scientific explanation part. If we go to many thousands of scientific studies, they will tell you that we need to eat local food, we need to eat seasonal food, and a high amount of plant based diet is very very important to reduce the risk of many chronic diseases, including even cancers, and include our improve our immunity. I'm sorry. So if we look at the thali again, let's go back and break it down into different components. So you have told what are the constituents, why are they important. So if we start from the prebiotics or the fiber, if we talk about the diversity of millets that were used, the diversity of the fruits and vegetables that were used, they are amazing sources of prebiotics. They're amazing sources of fiber. We already had those in our thalis. If I look at the Maharashtrian thali that I have made today, it again has the bhakri made of bajra. So why bajra? Because it's a winter specific grain that is used. Jowar is used in summers. And then there are again many different millets like ragi. There's the foxtail, so little millet, there's samoa, whatever is locally used in different parts of India. There are many different types of millets, and many of these are positive because they have the nutritional profiles that we require. And then when we this is also providing us fiber, means it's a source of complex carbohydrates. That's the carb component. If we talk about protein, we are talking about the different dals that were made. Sometimes it was pitla in Maharashtra, sometimes it was a dal. So today I've made a sweet and sour dal. One very important point that you had mentioned, I remember the reason for adding something sour with vitamin C in it. So today I've added amsul or kokum in it, is to extract the iron, is to make the iron bioavailable for us from the dals. This is how it was made traditionally. This is why there is a
Yes.
sweet and sour dal. This is why there is a dal with anything sour with a touch of lemon juice on it while we eat it, so that we get vitamin C and we get improved availability of iron. So this has always been a part of the traditional diet. Then we add drumsticks to it to improve the nutritional profile again to the same dal. It is not only giving us protein, it is giving us iron, it is giving vitamin C because of whatever we have added, and the additional vegetable component, which is the drumsticks, either drumstick leaves or the whole drumsticks that I've added today. So those are the two important things. Then we have the curry. So what the curry is, again, local, seasonal, whatever. So it's thinly today. It is, as you mentioned, it has the astringent property. If we are talking about all six tastes, the six flavor profiles also, that are very, very important in Ayurveda. All of these traditional thalis consider all of those six uh, taste profiles as well, which include sweet, sour, salty, spicy, astringent, and bitter. So if we look at the entire thali in India, we will find majority of the thalis are going to cover all six components, so that we are, it's a very healthy way. In Ayurveda, you say that we have to include all six in order for that to be nutritionally positive. Then if we
Yes,
talk about the rainbow diet, we have so many different colored fruits and vegetables that are on a single thali. If we think about breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you are going to see multiple colors throughout the day. So that takes care of all of the phytonutrients also. We are getting all of these phytonutrients. We are getting the vitamins, minerals, seasonal, local. Now this tinli curry that I made today was made by stuffing it with the masala that we make,
yes.
like bharli wangi, like bharli tonli we call it. So it's made with roasted peanuts, roasted sesame, roasted coconut. It has tamarind, it has spices in it. So again, it is improving the protein content, it is improving the calcium content, it is improving the nutritional profile, and the spices are improving the gut microbiome, the diversity of the gut microbiome. So that's the curry. And then we have the koshimbir or the salad, like you said. So we have a beetroot salad today, that we traditionally make something either with cucumber and peanuts, or we make it with uh, this one carrots, we make it with beetroots. There is some kind of a koshimbi that is made every single day. And then we have the chutneys, different chutneys. So we have the sesame and coconut chutney. So again, sesame is very good in the winters because it has a slightly heaty property, so it's eaten during the winters, but it's a great source of calcium. And then we have a coconut and garlic chutney, which is again a bit warm, so it is best eaten in the winters. So those are the things that I have on my plate. And then there is a sprouted usal that is made from sprouted moong. Again, sprouts are great. They are amazing for digestion. They are again giving a good quality of protein. I also have raw methi leaves on the plate for the bitter component and for the raw. So it's kind of a salad that we eat traditionally. We put a little bit of onions in it, which is again great probiotic, and some cold pressed oil and spices to go with it. So this is what happens in the thali, where we have all of the profiles that I'm talking about, and then buttermilk along with it. Dilute buttermilk, which gives a probiotic uh, in addition to the meal, and it also helps digest the food properly. And if we think about whether this is difficult to make, we are also working. We have managed to make this thali, and it looks very similar to what we eat on a regular basis. So how do we manage that?
Uh, Actually, Rashmi, there is so many things common between the thali, like you mentioned. Even for that matter, pickles. We all share
Pickles, yes,
pickles.
I forgot.
Yeah, pickles on the plate that I have displayed has aula, because that is again seasonal. It's good for antioxidant, highest amount of vitamin C, which does not get destroyed in any way you cook it. Then, like you said, for the bitter taste, I have the Karela there on my plate, and all these, is made in a masala with toasted sesame seeds and coconut and groundnut. So it is amazing to see how our ancestors, though from different regions, almost had the same kind of thought behind the thali. They knew what
Yes,
was good for us, for them, and how, what was the secret of good health. It was all simply in the culinary expertise that they had, but so much similarity. Maybe it's like a chemistry, example, the formulas were different, but the product was almost the same.
absolutely. What you are saying
Right?
is right. We might have a different fermented product in the thali. We might
Yes.
have a different protein source. It can be completely different. It can look completely different, but it is all providing us with very, very similar things. So a
Yes.
thali, Karnataka and Maharashtra are bordering states, and the thalis might look very similar. But if we look at thalis from different states, we are going to find nutritional profiles that are quite similar, that are going to provide us, and they change according to the region, according to local seasonal produce that grows there. And as you said, if we say that, oh, spinach is a rich source of iron, that's not true, because spinach is, it's a good source, but there are so many other local vegetables, local leafy greens that are also rich sources of iron.
Yeah, that is why I made a
Even
specific
so,
mention for Malabar spinach, because that
yes,
is exactly, I mean, that is what is grown locally here. I'm
yes,
not sure about the origins of the palak that came into our diet, but these have some kind of, the astringent qualities as well in them. So they're slightly different from the, the palak that we eat. So these are
yes,
usually grown as a local, and maybe at those, during those times, they were the one and only one source, not one and only one. So they were one of the sources for iron for the local, population. If you see
yes,
geographically, as we move up towards the north, there are, other varieties of leafy vegetables as well. You will see some common in between the two states, but as you move further ahead, you will see varieties changing. So you just
yes,
look at the expanse of plant food that is available to us today. We are not bound by region, but we have so much at our hands in terms of plant nutrition. But going back to the thali, which our ancestors, that was totally related to, focused on the region that they were from. So like you said, what was it cumbersome? No. Why? Because I'll give you a short example of how the thali is made there. Here in the thali that I have displayed, like I was discussing with you prior to this meet, the rasam is made out of the water taken from the dal on the top with a little dal. So there are two dishes that happen simultaneously. What does it take to make an avial? The vegetables are just cooked, all seasonal, cut handful of those, but you're supposed to eat about 30 plant types in a week. So you just
Yes,
imagine you have put five in one dish already. So you just need another 6 days. I mean, in another 6 days, I'm sure you will make the 30 up. It's not going to be
yes.
very
30
difficult.
plant-based foods per week is amazing for the microbiome. 30 is not a
Yes.
difficult number at all if you follow the traditional diet. If you look at the
Uh,
traditional thali, it's not at all difficult to manage.
So that is done. What time does it take to cook up a salad, a common salad? So already look at your plate. You already have the protein power. You have the fiber there. You are eating good carbs in the form of your millets. Then you have the healthy fats, which comes either from coconut or and the ghee on the top of your millets. So you just look at the pattern. They're not again. They're not very oily, wherein you pour a lot of oil and fats into the food. They're very simple dishes where you have just given them probably a tadka or so. So, looking at that, it was a well proportioned, well balanced meal which was supporting our gut health and providing all the nutrition that we needed in terms of what you can say iron, calcium, magnesium, zinc. So, all these were added along with, of course, the microbes, the live microbes in the
Live
term.
microbes. There's several probiotics that we have. There are so many
Yes,
different probiotics in the
yes,
different regions. So that's a separate topic for another day. But including probiotics also provided us with the live microorganisms and the pre-digested food. But if we look at the nutritional profile, it not just covers the six flavors or the six tastes which are amazing to our health. They include all of the micronutrients, minerals, vitamins that we need.
yes.
If we talk about making the food interesting, now children or people who are in the younger generation probably do not think that of traditional food as interesting, but actually the flavor profile has been very very diverse, very interesting. And another aspect is that there are so many different textures in the food. There's also a papad. There are some crunchy elements, there are raw elements, there are cooked elements, there's liquids, there's solids, there's semi-solids, and there are so many different things that make it a wholesome and enjoyable experience. It's not just that you eat it to satiate your appetite. You are actually enjoying the whole process of making it, of eating, and the different combinations. Sometimes you eat one with this, sometimes you eat your bhakri with the dal, sometimes you pair it with something else. It will make a very very different experience doing that. So that is also something
Yes,
that
yes, yes, yes. Very interesting because I remember, kids being picky about food, but I don't remember kids being picky for about food during our generation.
yes,
They had something or the other on the plate which would, entice them to eat their
keep them
lunch.
interested.
Yes, they would always be there, and grandmas didn't have to run after them to have their lunch or dinner. These days, I see kids, running with that one chapati in hand. I'm going to eat this, and then I'll eat my vegetables. I
I
mean,
remember
how
looking
is that
forward to
going?
actually eating those traditional foods as a kid, whether it was at home or going to the ancestral
Yes,
home to grandparents. I used to look forward to it. And then the social connection of having all the family members, the extended family members sitting together and eating. In traditional olden days, it used to be that either patravali or the banana leaves on these
yes, banana
large
leaves.
pieces of leaves, where
And if you're
again
a special
another
guest,
very
you
amazing
have
food
those.
with the microwave.
And you have if you're a special guest, you have the rangoli around it. Other thing
Yes.
is making the pickles and the crunchies along with it. That was also an enjoyable experience because you learned to, the crunchies were usually made from fermented batter of either rice flour or the ragi or yeah, I mean the poha, what you call, all those things were, especially natsani or ragi was fermented to make those crunchies, some of them. and then the
So what
papads,
kind
of
of
course,
amazing postbiotics those
those
crunchy
were
elements would have? If we think about papad or kurdai or any of those
yes,
crunchy things, there
yes,
and even those are different in different regions. In Maharashtra, we have the kharodi, we have the mugode made with moong dal, and we have
yes,
some other, like the
yes.
kurdaya that is made from fermented, wheat. So
Why
many different regional
we have even the stuffed chilies, soaked in
stuffed
buttermilk and
chili,
then
yes,
dried.
chilies that are stuffed with different things in different regions.
Different, yes, but then even with buttermilk, I mean,
Buttermilk,
you soak
yes.
them and then dry them. So you just imagine what they must be doing to our gut microbiome. So very,
Yes,
very
even that
interesting.
had some bitter elements, some spicy elements, all of these wonderful combinations
Yes,
of not just taste, but things to improve the gut microbiome that are going
yes,
to.
very, very interesting. Makes my mouth water remembering
Yes.
all
So
those
if we
things.
talk about the thalis that we have shown that are nutritionally rich, there are different things that people used to eat for, for good health, for improving immunity, for there are things that are specific for when you are sick. And these are not very boring foods. If we think of what ancestors used to eat when they were not so well. Now rasam is very, very tasty.
Yes,
If that
I
is
mean,
used for a
I
cough,
mean,
a cold, a flu, it's very tasty. There's
yeah,
nothing
you
boring about it.
just sit and sip on it. But again, there are like you said, varieties of rasams. Rasams on a daily basis are different from rasams those are given on flu. You can have pepper rasam for that matter when you're having a cough and cold. And believe me, they have given I mean, your cold and blocked nose and sore throat is bound to clear up with those soups, and pepper has those properties in it.
Yes,
So and of course the dried cumin powder as well. So these are all they knew the science, but it was so well integrated in their daily lives that they did not think it was necessary to explain the science behind it, as they passed it on generation to generation. But today I think we need to bring our youngsters back to the table, back to their roots, and say that look, what was on your plate was so beneficial for your gut microbiome. Try them, and we are sure you won't have any of those chronic diseases that are popping their ugly heads all over the place. So that is what I
absolutely.
think about the thali. And
Yes.
yes, Rashmi.
Science was a part of life. That's how we lived life, how our ancestors lived life. Now we have science as a subject and we have our life. Science has become optional. It doesn't come into the daily life as to how these choices should be. So definitely we urge youngsters to learn more about the microbiome, to learn more about the proper nutrition, the scientific basis. If you feel like you should not follow any of the traditional practices because they seem like ancient or whatever, go and look at the science. It is all available. So it's not that just because we are saying it, just because our ancestors are saying it, it's there in the scientific literature, it is there in the ancient texts. We can sit and compare, we'll find the same things. It's
I just read
amazing.
recently that horse gram kulit that we usually, and that's what I made the rasam of, is known to be the food source of the future as declared by the US officials. So do we have to wait for them to endorse our meals, or we assume that we are better acquainted with all these things that, I mean, we, by our ancestors, we have already been, given this or handed over this by our ancestors already, who are far, far more knowledgeable on this matter than the current, age. So let's give it a thought and see how the is so beneficial. Go back, ask questions to your grandparents or your ancestors, try to bring back traditional foods into your life and see how it makes a difference. Also, we would like you to comment if you can write about the thalis in your region, how they are complete in the comment box. We would be glad to take it up in our next podcast. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sujata.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So do let us know in the comment section what you thought about this podcast, about whether this information was useful. And don't take our word. Look at the scientific literature, compare that to what your ancestors ate, to what your grandparents ate, and see how that will make a difference in your health. Do let us know in the comment section. See you in the next one.